Sedina. And if we could just go around the room and have the other members of the commission introduce themselves. Starting with Mr. Ward.
Commissioner Rob Walker, Great City of D.
Commissioner Mike DeBreezy, City of Largo.
Barbara Hazelden, County Commission appointee, citizen.
Chris Shear, Pinellas County Commission.
Max McCann, St. Petersburg Citizen Appointee. Good morning, everybody.
Brad.
Hello, I'm
Didn't
Brad
we
Miller.
do
I'm
that?
the CEO of PSTA.
We heard a rumor to that effect. All right, thank you, Ray. Now's the time for public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Hearing none, we will move on to the action item. The approval of the March 19th, 2025 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The replacement of PSTA support vehicles with Enterprise Leasing. Henry Lukasik, Director of Maintenance, and Debbie Leas, CFO, is going to talk to us about new cars and things like that.
Good morning, Henry Lukasik, Director of Maintenance. I'm gonna give a brief intro and then Debbie will take over the presentation. So much like we have a fleet of buses here, we also have a fleet of support vehicles, motor pool, made up primarily of sedans, cars with a primary function of doing relief changes for operators, getting them to driver changes and shift changes throughout the day. Our current fleet is basically well beyond its useful life. We've got vehicles that are 12 to 15 years old, mostly in excess of 250,000 miles. We do have a couple that have 350,000 miles on them. So while it's a true testament to the fleet maintenance department to keep cars, some of these cars are no longer even built anymore. That while it's great that we can maintain these for as long as they can, it is obviously as they get up in age a costly endeavor. The physical inventory of cars over the years has dwindled. We used to have a count of 30 many years ago. Due to retirement, wear and tear, age, that's actually come down to a number of 15. So it's time, we're at the point where we just can't maintain them any longer for any great amount of time. And I'm gonna turn it over to Debbie, who's gonna give a presentation on a viable solution.
Thank you, Henry, and good morning, everyone. Debbie Leas, Chief Financial Officer. And today, as Henry said, we are going to be talking about their support vehicles, and we're going to be talking about a different way of replenishing them. So the goal of today's action item is number one, to replace the vehicles, well needed, as Henry said. The other outcomes that will come from this action item is a very immediate expense reduction, long-term expense reduction, and an improvement in cash flow. And we will do it through commercial vehicle leasing. Now, this is slightly different than the vehicle I lease for myself personally. The difference is there's unlimited miles. So that's very helpful to us because we've got long routes. So today's action item will be to do some commercial leasing with Enterprise Fleet Maintenance for a cost not to exceed $640,000. As Henry said, the primary purpose of these vehicles is to get our operators to the route. So this is a critical need that we have currently, hence the vehicle replacements. So in the past, what we've done is we've bought the vehicles with PSTA cash. So that's money out of our own pockets that we've put into these vehicles. What I'm recommending today, after taking a look at it, is doing a lease versus buying them. Now, Federal Transit Administration will pay for these leases so long as it makes sense. And we've been working with FTA on this project, and it does make sense from a financial standpoint to look at leasing versus purchasing. So let's take a look at that. And I have a new toy with this, so you'll have to apologize now. I'm having way too much fun with it. Up in the top left-hand side, we have the purchase option. That is to purchase the vehicles, all 30 of them, for $851,000. My other option is to lease the 30 vehicles for 3 years we have a cost per vehicle per month of the $592. Each year it'll cost me $213,000 for a cost over the 3 years of $639,000 compared to the $850. Now, we also have within this lease equity. So at the end of the lease, if we choose, I can say, I don't like what my decision was back in 2025. I thought it was a great idea to lease, but for whatever reason, I don't want to. I can get that back as a check in my hands so that the net cost over the 3 years is only $435,000. Now, we think this is a good idea at this point, and we want to use that money to go into the next round of leasing to reduce our costs. So it's a little hard to compare 5 years versus 3. So what I wanted to do is take a look at apples to apples on this. So I go ahead in year 1 and I buy 30 vehicles, around $850,000. What happens after we get down into years 3, 4, 5, mostly years 4 and 5, I'm gonna be spending more money on those vehicles for maintenance. Why? Just like your cars at home, it'll be tires, it'll be brakes, it could be a transmission. So I'm gonna be increasing my budget by $100,000 in each of those years. Now today, if we go ahead and do the lease, already Henry, in anticipation of a positive outcome today, in his operating budget, he has reduced his expenses for repair and maintenance of these vehicles by $100,000. So that's an immediate savings to me that'll carry forward. The other thing that'll happen is we'll go through the first 3 years. I apply the $200,000 to the years going forward, and you can see our expenses drop. I took out my $100,000 today, and I now have a cost of $829,000 versus the $1 million. Now what happens at the end of the 5 years is we buy another $850,000. And I'm just keeping costs the same because we don't know where the cost of vehicles will be. So as you can see, we have a savings of around $220,000. It's an estimate. I'm gonna be honest, it's an estimate. Reason being is that equity will depend on the condition of the vehicles. Enterprise has been here numerous times. They know how we treat our vehicles here. Obviously, we do a pretty good job. And that's what we estimate will be coming back to us. So today, we want to be able to move forward with this if possible. And one of the things that was important to me was, does Enterprise have the experience to deal with a government agency? They actually have had experience with and are doing business currently with Chicago Transit, COTA in Ohio, and then Metro is in Houston. Not only do they have transit experience, they have a lot of government experience. So these are some of the more local ones that we have here, and you might recognize their symbols. So there's a lot of government experience that they have that I think they can bring to the table to help us save money. So the action item before you today is to lease 30 vehicles at a cost not to exceed $640,000 from Enterprise Fleet Management. And with that, I will take questions because this is a new concept for PSTA.
Before questions, I just want to make an observation. As I mentioned before, I deal with Enterprise a lot in my day job selling commercial back ends of the truck. And every one of those municipalities you listed up there is a client of mine, and they've all been very happy with Enterprise and the way it's worked out. So that's my unsolicited commercial on the whole thing. It's enabled municipalities to tie in their cost fixed at a certain time, knowing they got an exit strategy to continuously have relatively new vehicles at a minimal capital expense. So thank you. It's a great presentation. So questions, who had their hand up first? Commissioner McCann?
Yeah, I was hoping you could tell us about how we use the vehicles for driver relief. I assume this means a driver's going from headquarters here out to wherever the route, there's kind of a shift
Right,
change?
as a relief driver.
Is it one driver takes the car, the other driver takes the car back to headquarters?
I'll let-
How does that work?
Henry,
Yeah, and I'll be happy to answer some of those questions. So driver changes happen, just as you said, in the morning pullout, operators come here and then take the bus out. So there's generally reliefs that are done out in the field, and that's across the county. So typically, there's about 97 of those driver changes that occur on a daily basis. Now, in all cases, if there's multiple driver changes, then carpooling is done through efficiency measures. But just keeping in mind that there's close to 300 operators 400 operators that work here on a daily basis, those changes are happening every day. So it's just the number of cars to facilitate those number of driver changes throughout the county, that's where that quantity comes from. And generally, a lot of that transpires during the midday from 12:30 to 2:30 in the afternoon. That's our peak change-out period. If I know our Chief Operating Officer, James Bradford, sitting in the back, so if there's anything that I didn't state correctly.
No, I mean, you captured it. I mean, Max, we're changing out vehicles all day long. We're at peak, we're about 180 buses and trolleys out there on the road. We have over between 10 and 12 different change-off locations, but all day long, you have operators coming out, whether it's an AM shift or a midday shift or an evening shift, going out to relieve another operator. And then you add in traffic, especially during this time of year, so we don't always get cars back in a timely fashion. So just having enough vehicles to kind of, disperse our people out to where they need to be is a big part, especially at our major terminals. You go down to Park Street, you have to allow a certain amount of time to get out that way. Grand Central, Beach Access Park, so we're all over the county. It's just picture just a busy nonstop, our own version of ER over there, all day long, folks coming and going.
It seems like it wouldn't be practical to have the actual bus come back to headquarters
That happens,
for
that
that
happens too.
shift change, for some routes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But
for the
other
routes we
routes-
can do, like at the lay-by down here,
Yeah.
we have operators will park here and then they'll just go change out right
Okay.
there at the lay-by.
Yeah.
Morning shifts that are a short route that comes back to the garage, that's easy, but it's just, I mean, we're talking hundreds of different change-offs and activity depending on, and then you have the all-day routes where the vehicles don't come back and they just kind of stay out there.
Okay.
A lot of activity.
Any other questions?
Sure, and I talked to Brad about this yesterday, or the day before, I get confused, but anyway. I get confused about what the need for this program is to start with. Why do we bring our support here and then send them out? Why don't they just go where they're needed? I'm confused about that.
so your question is, to make sure I understand, is why don't the drivers come back to here?
No, why do they come here at all? Why don't they just receive a message? This is where you're needed and report there.
Well, I mean, for a lot of different reasons, again, in the morning, the majority of operators show up here to report. So the structure is to make sure we have enough people on the road to cover the routes. This is a major check-in hub here. So you have, at least 200 operators that come in the morning. We check them in, they have lockers here, they get ready for the day. And the major pullout is in the morning. So all the buses come in at night, they're fueled, they're cleaned, and they sit here overnight. So we have to have at least 200 operators just to put them back out into the county, dispersing every day. So that's one reason the majority of folks come here. And then you have to get those same operators back to their vehicles early in the morning. And then you just have different route structures to keep it going all day long. I think we do a little bit of everything. We do mid-county change-offs, we do lay-by change-offs, but then we also do kind of extended, longer distance.
Are these vehicles being used for the, just from here to wherever they're going? Or are they being used by personnel to go home and then come back to
Oh,
work?
no, not coming home. It goes from here out to the relief driver at the location. And maybe just to put it in a little bit of perspective of, we've got a large, well, even though we're a small county, it's long, it's large. And we don't have areas where people can go, like if we sent everybody to Park Street, I don't know where they would park in the area if that's what went from home to Park Street to start their route. Hence, we start everybody here, go out to the locations. If we had different, I guess, bus stations or bus, terminals where we housed our buses overnight, we could send people out, like you're saying, to different locations. But we have one central location here.
So the changes, I'm just, and I apologize, I'm just trying to understand the
Oh,
operation.
no, those are good questions.
I don't understand why somebody that's a relief has to check in. They can just check in with their phone, and then you could send them the location you need them at. Why?
And they would go with their personal car to the
Yes.
location, and where would they park? That's I think, part of the issue in Pinellas County
Mhm.
is, we don't have a lot of parking
So
around the hubs.
they actually make the transfer on 4th Street North, at a bus stop, or?
Yeah, at some stops, yes, or a Gateway Mall, or a Park Street, or Grand Central, or 75th and Gold. And bear in mind, we have to bring these buses back in at night, so that's a key component right there. And when the drivers bring them back in tonight to Henry's service team, they all get swept out, the windows get hit, the driver's compartment gets cleaned, and they get an exterior wash, and they get fueled, and we have to probe the fare boxes. So these vehicles have to leave here every day, and they have to return here every day. In order to do that, you need hundreds of drivers located, starting and ending here at home base. And it's just how it operates, it's just how we run this, how a lot of transit agencies.
Okay.
Logistically, if they had their own car, if they use their own cars to do this, then at the end of the day, their car would be parked down in St. Petersburg or Clearwater, and they'd bring the bus back here, then they need a ride. They need a ride down to get their car.
Are they working when they're back and forth? Is that,
Yes.
so they're on the clock, that's when they're getting transported?
Not in
It's
all
a great
scenarios.
question. The answer is no. When they're in the car, when they check in here, their pay doesn't actually start until they start driving the bus.
Mhm.
But in exchange, we do offer them this car, this ride, to their origin location. But
And then when they switch
technically,
out?
the driving in the car is not paid.
I'm just, and so they get to I guess, anywhere
Well,
Are
it's
these set
specifically
locations?
defined, it's specifically defined in their schedule, all the schedules, that you are designed to relieve Mr. Reed at Clearwater at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You have to get there. You log it, you punch in here, and then you get a car, and you go over there to Clearwater. When he gets there in the bus, you start driving the bus, your shift starts, he takes the car back. That's what these are cars for.
and are these defined? We already know where all these transfer locations are?
Yeah.
And we don't have parking there?
There is a little bit of parking, and as James said, maybe a few drivers do figure out a way to take to their own personal schedule that they decide to drive there themselves. But a lot of times it doesn't really work because your shift is ending here at the end of the night.
Hmm.
So then we'd have to drive you back over to get your car.
Okay. All right,
Good
last question I
good
have for you is,
questions.
does this, we're self-insured, but we don't interpolate any number on what the risk cost is to have these cars running around? There's no number for that?
I don't know, Diane, why don't you come up?
I didn't see insurance numbers on the,
No,
I mean, it's covered in our liability.
I think I have to repeat the question, I forgot the hearing aids today. I'm
the
sorry.
question is regarding insurance and the risks involved.
Okay, we worked extensively with Enterprise Fleet Management. They have accepted changes to preserve our sovereign immunity rights. We also, our entire fleet is self-insured for damage to the vehicles themselves. They also accepted our self-insurance for that and for our liability. So we had, 4 or 5 sessions with,
At least 5.
yeah, going back and forth on the insurance. So I feel very comfortable that we're okay on it.
Okay. Thank you.
So
Any more
related,
questions?
oh, sorry about that.
Go ahead, Oz.
So yeah, related to that, so there, I mean, purchase or lease, there's no difference in the way that the insurance is administered.
No.
It's still sovereign immunity, it's still self-insured for damage to the vehicles.
Do you wanna explain, does everybody know what sovereign immunity means?
Yeah, it's all the chopping block.
Okay. All right.
We're very familiar with it.
They're politicians.
Okay,
Any more questions?
I think Commissioner Hazelton.
I'm just wondering about Uber. Because we're gonna be talking about the Uber contract and Lyft contract today. And I'm just wondering about that. Sorry, I don't know what caused that, but, so when you're talking about shuttling back and forth with these cars, how would that stack up? Even in contracting or negotiating with Uber and Lyft on these contract renewals, that they may participate somewhat in that. I'm just throwing that out. You don't have to worry about parking, and so, am I making sense?
Yeah. What would it cost to have Uber do it?
What would it cost to have Uber do this transporting?
Well, then you get the reliability
My rough
issue. I
estimate.
mean, 19 minutes for an Uber or 9 minutes for an Uber, depending on the time of day. We just can't, I mean, I get it.
Well, I mean, they may know that
But-
they have to be here every day.
Yeah, they do, but I mean, the driver coming off one shift may have to wait much longer for an Uber than somebody coming off another shift, and the fare variance and all that stuff.
Yeah, my rough estimate, calculation, it would be more expensive. It'd be more expensive to hail Ubers for all these guys. I think Henry said there was 95, around 100 of these per day, or something like that. So I did 95
Thank you
times,
for
it's
that.
it's actually more like $40 right now during spring break for an Uber to get to Clearwater from here.
Yeah.
So I said, 95 times 30 times 365 days a year is $1 million. So it'd be more. Unfortunately, we don't get any deals with Uber when we hail Uber.
Yeah, but it would also alleviate the need for them to actually come here. They could just go where they're needed and go home from there.
Yeah, we
Why
still
are
have
we
the
spending-
bus though, with the bus, the only place to maintain the buses is here. Somebody has to bring it here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
At the end of the day, Uber could be here.
right. I just.
It's not cost effective to use Uber every day for your,
Well, I don't think we're gonna reinvent the wheel here. We're supposed to be evaluating whether we're gonna approve or move on this contract. So do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate
And
it.
thank you for the great conversation and the great ideas. I appreciate that, thank you.
Next up, Amanda Baird, our Director of Marketing and Communications. We're gonna go through our existing and extending our existing contract, rather.
Good morning, Finance Committee. I am Amanda Baird. I'm your Director of Communications and Marketing. I'm here to talk to you today about our contract with Catalyst Communications. There is no additional funding request associated with this particular action item, so hopefully fairly straightforward. This is just authorizing the execution of the contract option so we can continue working with Catalyst for another year. What Catalyst helps us with is part of what I call my team's tripod. It's my team's job to point the lens on PSTA and the wonderful things that we do. And we have 3 key ways of doing that, like a tripod, support, and a camera. The first being passenger and community outreach, our actual boots on the ground folks who go out to events, go out, ride the routes, talk to people at terminals. The second leg of the tripod being marketing and advertising, that paid media, social media, Google, Facebook, our website, being that second leg of the tripod. We'll talk more about those actually next month. Today I'm here to talk to you about the third leg of the tripod, which is our communications, public relations, and earned media, actually getting PSTA in the news. So the objectives of our communications efforts with Catalyst and with our in-house team are to, of course, keep riders informed about PSTA's services and any service changes. We can make as many decisions as we want down in the planning department, around a table in a conference room. But the most important part is making sure that the folks who actually ride the bus know about it, and folks who are thinking about riding the bus are able to consider that option for themselves. Also to generate new business and bolster some existing business and invest in PSTA's positive reputation. I wanna share a little story that happened recently that was a very tangible and visible return on investment in the form of public relations. We had our kickoff event for our grouper service out at PIE. Brad, Commissioner Scott, one of the business owners out at Clearwater Beach all came and spoke to reporters. A bunch of news stories got broadcast and published. Within that first week, our ridership spiked on that brand new service. And I also, as the administrator of our advertising program, got several inquiries from Clearwater Beach businesses wanting to pay to advertise their business in that grouper vehicle because they saw it on the news. Hey, saw the news story, we want to get Frenchies in the grouper. How do we do that? So it helps generate business and revenue in addition to ridership for PSTA. The way Catalyst helps us, the key methods they do are looking strategically at how we launch these communications, making sure we're pacing things according to the news cycle, helping develop effective messaging. What are the key talking points that are gonna resonate with the public, with our community stakeholders, our business stakeholders, and with our board? As well as helping us in crisis situations such as the storm, helping us push out those key messages about service, about how PSTA is impacted when there is a crisis. So some of the key services that PSTA works with Catalyst on is media and stakeholder relationships. The Catalyst team has over 100 years of combined journalism and PR experience. A lot of them are former reporters in their own right. They have a lot of relationships with local, state, and national news outlets. And so they help engage with those media outlets and secure that coverage. The reason we want to have that coverage is just like you want to have your commercial advertising your service, generate awareness. Having that also being in the news segment when you're watching the news, people are less likely to flip the channel during that commercial break versus the actual news. And it also helps affirm like, hey, that thing I saw advertised, that is something that's actually newsworthy and reputable. Like I mentioned before, providing support in those crisis situations, hurricanes, major local events, making sure that the media is apprised and we're pushing the word out as effectively as possible. What should we be pushing out on our website? What should we be pushing out to the news? And last but not least, helping extend my team. I have a one-woman PR department in-house, that is Stephanie Weaver, who has just welcomed her son Nolan. So while she is out on leave, Catalyst is actually providing some in-house support to make sure that we don't lose any communications and news opportunities while Stephanie is with her baby. I want to talk to you about some of the outcomes too. We measure everything that we do in communications and marketing. I am not a numbers person, but I try very hard to be. So some of the things that we measure when it comes to marketing, advertising, and communication, specifically with PR, are mentions. So that's the number of actual stories we get. So how many stories did we get about the grouper following our press event? Our reach being the number of eyeballs who actually saw those stories, so people who saw those stories. And last but not least, this is a metric that's tracked at the county and as part of the county's budget by multiple cities locally, is our advertising value equivalent. How much money would we have had to pay in advertising dollars if we had just bought commercials to get that same number of eyeballs? I have a brief video to kind of highlight some of the coverage we've gotten over the last calendar year 2024. It's about a minute and a half, so I'm gonna go ahead and play that.
this has taken 40 years.
Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority bus driver Calvin Ray Davis is the author and illustrator of Lord of the Swamp.
Megan Basnet was the first of her neighbors in historic Kenwood Tuesday to test out the neighborhood's U-Pass program.
This is one of 4 PSTA terminals that is now equipped with Narcan kits, and staff is in the middle of getting trained on how to use it right now, making them the first in the state to do something like this.
Excited to have this station here. We think it's going to be a huge value add for our guests, the tourists that come here, and we think that those who live in the city will equally benefit from it.
Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority dispatcher Chris Blackshear says he volunteered to drive a transport van to evacuate people with disabilities during the back-to-back hurricanes.
I got a heart for people, and the stories, it just weighed in on me, but I felt like I was helping the community.
So I'm gonna stay on that last slide, which was our year-end metrics for calendar year 2024. We had 2,100 news stories times PSTA's name appeared in the media that Catalyst helped us garner, with a reach of about 3.77 billion. That is 3.77 billion times people saw news stories about PSTA. Using that math, we also, the advertising value equivalency to get a reach of about 3.77 billion impressions would have cost PSTA about $35 million. So by working with Catalyst on this contract basis, we were able to basically secure $35 million in free advertising. So with that, I am going to recommend the authorization of option year 1, which would be year 3 overall of the Catalyst Communications contract for a revised term of May of this year to May of next year. And with that, I will take any questions.
Any questions, anyone? Commissioner McCann?
Go ahead. So I'm just curious, is it more just the strategic communication aspect, or do they do content planning and social media and all that?
They do not do social media, but they do help support us with content planning, making suggestions for our content marketing. Hey, this month you should probably really focus on this thing because that's what the news is talking about. They also help us with securing coverage, like, hey, so-and-so reporter wants Brad to come talk on a podcast. So they help negotiate those appearances.
Okay, so what about, how do you do the social media?
The social media is done in-house.
This is more like the earned media, like campaign time.
Earned media, okay, yeah, so my background, I was a vice president of marketing communication for aerospace firm, and we did kind of the same thing, earned and paid. But we did find a benefit, and that's the only reason I brought the question up, is we did find a benefit of having our strategic communication consultant actually do our social media planning as well. So anyway, just throwing that out there as a thought.
Absolutely. They do help us with some of the planning and the strategy of topics we should hit, but in terms of actually writing the captions, creating the graphics, we do that part in-house.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Commissioner McCann?
Sure. I don't expect you to be able to answer this today, and I'm not even sure if we can answer it at all, but just a thought is that it might be interesting to see how we compare with that benchmarking association in terms of marketing spending. Are we in line with it? Are we below it? Averages, I mean, for the state or whatever. Just a thought, take it for what it's worth.
Absolutely, we can look at those numbers, and like I said, we'll be coming back to you with an RFP that's currently on the street, and we can probably have those numbers at that time.
Any more questions? Okay, thanks, Amanda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Next up will be Bonnie Epstein, Director of Mobility. Talk about our contract extension for mobility.
Hi, good morning, Finance Committee. If you don't already know me, I'm Bonnie Epstein. I'm the Director of Mobility Services here. And the action item that I have for you today is to approve one-year contract extensions with our current on-demand providers of Uber, Lyft, and Bay Area Metro, and to add $8 million to the contract. I do just want to point out that this action item is not asking for funding. We're only gonna use money that we already have in our fiscal year 25 and 26 budgets for our on-demand services. So, our first last mile contractors, Uber, Lyft, the local taxi Bay Area Metro, all provide on-demand services that we have, all the on-demand services that we have here at PSTA. So that includes our first last mile program, Direct Connect, our Healthy Hop program in Tarpon Springs, our overnight service, the TD Late Shift program, our cross-county service, TD Tampa Bay, and our largest on-demand program that you're probably all familiar with, that's Mobility on Demand, and that provides on-demand rides for our PSA Access riders. So the procurement that we did to get these contractors was back in the spring of 2020. And 2-year contracts with 3 one-year extensions were awarded in June of 2020. So that means that these contracts are set to expire in June of this year. So the reason that we didn't move forward with a new procurement earlier this year was because we had heard of a new potential rule that came out in December of last year, 2024, from the FTA, as some of you may remember from a presentation from Brad in January of this year. The potential new change or new rule from the FTA would affect the taxi cab exception, which would not allow transit agencies like PSTA to have any sort of contract with providers that don't drug and alcohol test the drivers, like Uber and Lyft. So after this statement came out, which was under the old administration, there was a public comment period. That public comment period closed on February 13th. But after that, and as of today, we really haven't heard anything back from the FTA on this issue. So because we do want to continue these on-demand services, we'd like to extend our current contracts for 1 year while we wait to hear back from the FTA. During that time, we'll also work on a new RFP where we'll put out options for pricing for drug-tested providers and non-drug tested providers. So we'll be able to get options for both, for the outcome of either scenario. So that brings me back to the action item that I have for you today, and that's to approve 1-year contract extensions with our on-demand providers of Uber, Lyft, and Bay Area Metro, and to add $8 million to the contract. Again, we're not asking for additional funding, we'll only use the funds that we have budgeted for our on-demand services. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Any questions?
I do. Is there a risk that we sign this contract extension and then FTA comes out and says, no, you can't use these vendors, and then we're stuck with some kind of liquidated damages clause or something like that?
No, it is possible that the FTA could say, hey, well, we've made a decision, can't do this anymore. But I know Al can probably speak to this a little better than me, but there's no liquidated damages. We can, there's language in the current contract and in the extension that would allow us to terminate for any rule changes to the FTA.
Okay.
Great job.
Any other questions? Anybody else?
That was my question.
Have your question? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the contract extension?
Moved.
Second.
All right, all approved, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you.
Next up, Diane Randall. Talk about a proposed settlement. It's always fun.
Good morning, Diane Randall, Director of Risk Management. I'm here this morning to seek approval for a claim settlement with Nina Boomer in the amount of $50,000. This accident occurred on April 29th, 2022, when a PSTA bus ran a red light and struck Ms. Boomer's vehicle. As a result, she sustained injuries to her neck, back, and both knees, and had medical costs of approximately $32,000. The file has the claim reserve, so we're within our established file reserve for this settlement, and it is a litigated case, so settling it will end our liability on the case. Therefore, I'm recommending approval of the claim settlement in the amount of $50,000 with Nina Boomer. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Diane. Any questions?
Question, yes, how did we arrive at the $50,000?
That was a mediated
Mediated,
case.
okay.
We have all the medicals to show what her injuries are, what her treatment is, what the recommendations are, and we're forced to have mediations, which is a good thing because we do settle most of our cases at mediation.
Right, and just to confirm, the estimated medical costs are $32,000.
The medical costs are approximately $32,000. There's out of pocket is approximately $10,500. But there is also liens against the medical care that was paid by insurance companies. So the plaintiff's team has to work that out, but that is taken into account when we're settling.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Diane?
Just
Okay, thank
one,
you.
if you don't mind. Just wanna make sure we've taken any appropriate retraining steps with respect to the operator involved.
I don't know the answer to that. I do know that when they're involved in accidents that they do.
And Diane, and we got Theo here. Theo, go
Yes,
ahead.
I'm Theo Beckley-House, Director of Safety, Security, and Training here at PSA. Yes, this driver actually gets issued a preventable accident, which is on his record. And we actually bring him in for one-on-one training, defensive driving, review the video footage with him. So we've spent time with him to hopefully not reoccur.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any more questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve the claim settlement?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All approved?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you so much. All right, this is the fun part, the audit evaluation. Al had to walk me through this the other day. Had to hold my hand over the phone. Al, you wanna walk us through the evaluation?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Finance Committee members, Al Burns, your highly motivated procurement director. A couple of years ago, our HR department came up with an excellent program, and your prospective companies might have them. But once a quarter, Brad gives out these awesome awards. And for all your hard work, I'm giving all of you an awesome award. The awesome award, Commissioner Walker, is for putting in meticulous comments. They were awesome. Commissioner, yours is for being the first elected official to complete their scoring and evaluation. Commissioner Reed, yours is for overcoming technical challenges of bonfire.
You know, I got a trophy in high school for playing best improved in basketball. That was embarrassing enough.
Like that. You get a little piece of paper.
Commissioner Max, yours is for exceptional attention to detail.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Huntington, Commissioner Hazelton, we spent a lot of time on the phone together. And for being the first member of the Finance Committee to complete their evaluation.
Way to go.
Without technical difficulties.
Without technical difficulties.
But not without complaining.
In all seriousness, and without jest, one of the things that I'm like super happy about is that you got to experience what staff goes through. And that was for 2 proposals. For the website, we had over 30 proposals. For the solicitation that Bonnie spoke about with Uber, Lyft, and there were a bunch of companies that submitted. So I know that took time out of your busy schedules, and we are greatly appreciative of this. As I spoke earlier, this is an important contract for our finance division. Julie is chomping at the bit to get to start this, and please work with me, because I know she'll have a lot of words for me if things don't go according to plan. But what I would like to do is I'd like to just recap. On February 19th, the Finance Committee approved the evaluation criteria. In February. The very next day, the solicitation was released on the street. We received one addendum, meaning Q&As were asked, and staff with Julie and also the contracting officer, Mr. Hensler, my deputy director, they answered all the questions. We received 16 downloads of the solicitation off of Bonfire. Proposals were due on 3/18, on March 18th. On March 19th, I came here, and in the same finance committee, we did evaluation training, if you remember that. After we received 2 proposals, and shortly thereafter, I uploaded those proposals and started, and I apologize, I'm like the squeaky wheel. I don't know how many times I've emailed you, Commissioner, and I don't know how many times I talked to you all individually. But today, we're here for 2 reasons. Next steps. Either to ask for presentation of the next committee meeting from one or both, or make a recommendation for award to the board of directors, which will happen in May. Along with those awesome awards, and I am very sincere when I gave those, you will see comments from our advisors. Comments from our advisors. And as we go through the evaluation process, I would ask you, hey, to take the time and maybe look at their comments, and it might influence it might impact on the way that you scored your proposals. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Bonfire.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
All right, yeah, I'm a little confused. So this, when you say advisor, who are you referring to?
Great question. We had advisors from Largo. We had advisors from Pinellas County. Those are the ones that looked at the proposals and I wouldn't say scored them, but they evaluated the proposals along with Ms. Lupus and Debbie. So those are just the comments from those advisors, and I don't know if you remember, but there was a slide that I said, hey, we're gonna give you help. But I would tell you this, commissioners, the comments that you wrote and the level of detail that you went in and evaluating the proposals, it was exceptional, and I don't say that lightly, and I'll tell you, staff here at PSTA would tell you, I wouldn't tell you this, but staff at PSTA, I've said, hey, you need to write better comments. The comments that you gave will help in debriefing whoever does not get awarded the contract, and I'm appreciative of that. So these right here are from the advisors. I think we had one from Pinellas County, we had one from Largo. Seminole. These are their comments. I didn't put names on there, just put evaluators. Did that answer your question?
You did. The thing I'll just defer, no, I'll actually ask it. So I look at these comments and I approach it exactly from how you characterized it, because for the debrief purposes, you need to make sure that you have your comments in order.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just kind of curious as to some of these comments, but maybe I'll get an answer to that here in a moment.
Oh, I did see it, okay. Maybe that's it. So you wanna play the bonfire like?
Yeah,
Okay.
I wanna go to that link
Yeah,
that
we
we
got
had
you
already.
right
Okay, thank you.
There you go. Yeah, you should be.
So with that said, this is the evaluation committee meeting for RFP 2525240-381 auditing services. In accordance with the Florida statute, the notice has been published on Bonfire, and there's a notice that's put in the lobby downstairs. What you see before you are the raw scores. We received two proposals, one from Cherry Becker, the incumbent, the next one from Clifton Larson Allen, who PSTA has done business with previously. As you can see, Cherry Becker score was 764. Clifton Larson's score was 729. This is technical only. These scores are for the technical portion only. They do not reflect price. After our discussion, I will upload the pricing, and then you will see exactly what the scores are with price included. Traditionally, what we do is we go through the ones that there's a scoring variance, and there's there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 4 categories where it lacks what we call consensus in procurement. That means there is a variance between the top and the low score of over 30%. Those are the items that I would like to bring forth for discussion. And the areas in Cherry Becker, every area we have consensus. And I could tell that by the little danger sign. There is no danger sign in Cherry Becker. And I say danger, maybe that's the wrong word choice. Everything has consensus with Cherry Becker. There are 4 categories that lack consensus with Clifton Larson Allen. And what I recommend, Finance Evaluation Committee, is that we discuss those. I will tell you, Commissioner Scher, you might see, in the purpose of discussions, is you might see things when you reviewed it that Commissioner Walker did not see. Commissioner Hazelton, you might see things, and you might have some questions, and Commissioner Reed might be able to answer some of those questions from his evaluation from reading it. The most important point is there is no requirement for anyone to change their scores. If you stand by your score, you stand by your score. But sometimes I find that it is useful when people are looking at it from various vantage points. They might see something that someone else did not see. In the event that you wish to change your score, we will do that real time. My deputy's over there and he's on it. We will do that real time. And what you will receive is an email from Bonfire notifying you that your score has been changed. That way, everything is fair and transparent and out in the sunshine. So what I'd like to do is look at the first category, is section A1.
Russian judge over here.
I'm sorry. Section A1, the description, the proposal should demonstrate the qualifications of the firm and of the professional staff to be assigned to this engagement. indicating that all professionals are in compliance with the continuing professional education requirements outlined in the government auditing standards. And right there is a description of the criteria that was evaluated. Commissioner Hazelton, you scored them 90 points. Commissioner Shearer, you scored them 95 points. Commissioner McCann, you scored them 99 points. Commissioner Reed, you gave them 100 points. And Commissioner Walker gave them 25 points. And there's your comment. Commissioner Walker, I'd ask you, since you gave the lowest score, if you could kind of elaborate on your comment, and your comment is there on the screen, hopefully everyone can see it.
Yeah, so, here's the way I looked at it. And again, I'm just gonna step through my methodology on this. If
Yes, sir.
proposals are not read, they are evaluated. And each section, in my opinion, needs to be able to stand alone on its own merit. As I went through this, I was really struggling with tying together the key requirements of this particular section, specifically the aligning the qualification with the PSTA requirements. I wasn't seeing that. The qualifications were not, you had to, really, if you would not really, so in terms of the qualifications of the firm, those, in my opinion, were not articulated as a firm. And specifically this section alone, the other part that I was struggled with it was, in my opinion, poorly written. So, as I looked through that, I thought, this to me is highlighting a lot of things that are not relevant to the requirements of this section, specifically some of the systems they use and other things like that. I know what I would like to have seen is specifically upfront, just as the other offer provided, was specifically the past experience in the client relationships that they had. This was not evident in the front part of the proposal. So that's why I gave it the score I did.
Okay. Commissioner McCann, I'm gonna go to you next. I think you gave them a total of 99 points. My question to you, sir, is what did you see that maybe others did not see?
I can only tell you what I saw, but that's, to me, it seemed like it understood the assignment. It seemed to give me confidence that this offerer has the experience that we're asking for. I thought it was spelled out in a pretty readable fashion. Having written some proposals not in this industry, I always strive to keep them concise, respect the time of the evaluating committee. So my biggest criteria was that it had some fluff in it. So, but you can see I only took 1 point for that because, giving too much information doesn't seem really fair. As long as they're staying within the proposal limits there, they can say whatever they want. Yeah, I was trying to really get to the substance of their experience. And yeah, you did have to dig for that a little bit. I thought that was true of both proposals. So overall, I was judging it by how confident I am in their experience level.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hazelton, these are the comments that you wrote.
And I have to tell you, I can't see that.
Okay.
Is it me? Can you blow that up a little bit?
I don't know.
It's a little blurry for me as well.
While not as strong as the opponent, still an outstanding presentation of the firm's qualifications and experience in the field.
Okay, this is the question where they ask about,
Okay, thank you.
are you gonna blow it up?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
This is on the whole firm.
Yeah, that's better, thank you.
You're welcome. So your comment looks pretty straightforward. While not as strong as the opponent, still an outstanding presentation of firm's qualifications and experience in the field.
Yeah.
The next comment that Commissioner Scher, you wrote, extremely qualified. Can you elaborate on that a little
You
bit?
know, I actually split the screens and I read both proposals side by side. And they both seem very qualified to me, so, you know.
That's why you see my scores were there, it's like.
Yeah, they're very, I found them throughout, very qualified, both of them, and so I might have seen a couple things here and there that I thought they did a better job of presenting, but they're both very qualified firms, so, you know, you wouldn't even ask them to bid on it if they weren't qualified, so.
Commissioner Reed, any comment? You gave them.
Right along with Commissioner Scher's, I mean, you see, I gave perfect scores across the board because I took the 30,000 foot view as opposed to the micro view. So I'm really taking the overall, are they qualified? Well, they're clearly qualified, so I'm not gonna split it by a point just to make a point, if you will. So it's really gonna come down to me on price.
Okay.
Right.
So we've had a discussion.
Both were extremely well qualified on paper.
Okay.
And they've both been in the industry long enough time, so to me, the price is really the driving factor at this point.
And I wanna just concur with that because the distinction between the two offers, I don't know how we make a source selection decision without knowing the price.
Okay, so what I'll do now is I'm gonna pause because I don't want anyone to have any angst because prices, I can see that price is an important component to the finance committee. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add the price in. And then we can still go through the same process. I will tell you to just give us maybe about 10-15 seconds, and as soon as David gives me the thumbs up, I'll refresh the screen.
Okay, great.
Did anyone want to change their scores at this point?
I'm gonna.
And I'll be honest with you, I think I did this a week ago, it's gonna be hard for me to remember exactly why I might give somebody 5 more or less.
Yeah,
I understand.
can relate to that.
I read a lot of
Understand.
reports.
Can't remember what I had for
I
breakfast.
can't remember, I
I
did it.
did it a month ago.
Right.
3 weeks.
How do I refresh the screen?
You got this little
But
circle.
yeah.
Circle button over there. There's a little circle button in the browser. Yeah.
There we go. Looks like it just got So now with pricing added, Clifton Larson Allen has a score of 929 points. And Cherry Beckert has a score of 889 points. I would tell you, I think I know what the next question will probably be.
And you're probably gonna ask, what is the actual price? Clifton Larson Allen's price was $319,250, $319,250.
Oh, that's over the 5 years.
Yes, sir, for the full term of the contract, which is 5 years. Cherry Becker's price is $511,105. Once again, Clifton Larson's price, $319,250. Cherry Becker's price is $511,105. Just be advised that pricing is without having any negotiations whatsoever. So that's just their upfront pricing, their initial pricing. So going back to where we were with Clifton Larson Allen. We reviewed section A1. We have comments from everyone, and I appreciate that. And now the next thing that we'll do is I'll ask, does anyone wish to change their score after discussions? Commissioner McCann?
No, sir.
Commissioner Scher?
No.
Commissioner Reed? Commissioner Hazel? Commissioner Walker?
In light of the comments by my colleagues, I will raise my score.
All right. And David, for some reason, this isn't looking, I'm having some problems. David? What would you like to adjust your score to, sir?
50 points to 75.
To 75?
Yeah.
You would like to add additional 50 points? And what should be the comment that we put in? Of why you adjusted your score up?
Well, I guess first and foremost, I'll stand by my original comments. I thought that this section was poorly written.
Yes, sir.
I really do believe it looked almost like it was content from another proposal.
Yes, sir.
And it probably was. But, I mean, I do respect the opinion of my colleagues, and I do wanna make sure that, now that we've talked about it and understand where they're coming from, and maybe I have the perspective that they have. I think, we could say for that particular section that, could you just call my comments up real quick and I'll tell you what to change. Okay, so basically, the first thing I had mentioned was you had to really dig for the actual qualifications, which meant that you had to go to the resumes, and the resumes aren't evaluated. So basically, I could make the case that the section, you could remove that sentence there with difficulty in aligning those qualifications with PSTA requirements.
Okay.
Although the specific qualifications of the firm were not explicitly called out, it was by the particular people that would be supporting the task. You can remove that one too.
Okay.
And I think that if going up to 75 points, that puts it in a different category, for the reason up there.
Typically, we put other and then we just put today's date.
Okay. The other thing that I wanna state here is that in terms of, a comparison of the two proposals, Cherry Becker really went into a lot of detail that indicated their understanding of the CPE requirements.
Yes, sir.
That was not, although at another point in the proposal, Clifton Larson Allen did indicate, that they did portray some level, but it wasn't specifically aligned with this requirement.
Yes, sir.
So, however you wanna. I would say not sufficiently, I would say, I would just say adequately.
Adequately? Okay. So like I said before, you're gonna get an email from Bonfire saying that your score has been changed. Moving to the next category. Why this is doing this to me. As you can see, your score has been updated to 75, and we've made the best attempt to to refresh your comments. The next section that we have is section A3. And section A3 is 1, 2, 3. The officer shall provide information on the results of any federal or state desk reviews or field reviews of the audits during the last 3 years. In addition, the firm shall provide information on circumstances and status of any disciplinary action taken or pending against the firm during the past 3 years. With the firm during the past 3 years with the federal and state regulatory bodies or professional organizations. So in that category, that lacks consensus. And Commissioner Walker, you gave them the lowest score of 25 points. And your comment said the proposal did not provide information on the results of any federal or state desk reviews or field reviews of the audits during the last, nor did it provide information on the circumstances or status of any disciplinary action taken or pending against them. Another comment was, as reported by the firm, their record appears without flaws. Another response meets the requirement. Nothing significant on report. Meets or exceeds my expectations. And compiled. So I guess I'll just kind of open it up, maybe for a group discussion on that section right there. And maybe there were things that people saw or did not see and that maybe others did.
I think that 25 is.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner McCann.
Yeah, if you scroll to the left, it might confirm whose scores those align with. Yeah, that's me on the top. So that was my 25-point score. And I stand by it.
You stand by it. The question is that if they didn't, your comment was that they didn't respond, but maybe that's because they didn't have any violations.
My read of it was that it didn't say that.
Okay.
And without having it in front of me right now,
Yeah, and
I'm at a disadvantage,
Yes.
Stay with your convictions. Be strong.
That's it. Yeah.
I'll move to the next section, which is section B5. The highest points that were, the lowest points that were scored was a rated criteria lacks consistency, sorry. See all of you, there we go, sorry. And then I'll show you where the traditional. Okay, thanks. Thanks so much.
How long did it take you to learn the system?
It's been a while, and they're always doing updates to it like any other software. So that section right there. Here's a description of it, a list of any and all subcontractors intended to be used on the project, along with the scope of work expected to be assigned to each subcontractor, and a detailed experience statement for the subcontractor in that particular area. Please note if there are no subcontractors being used. So Commissioner Hazelton wrote, not impressed with strong AI introduction into the proposal, which is in mind to similar to subcontracting. Commissioner McCann wrote, proposal clearly conveyed the requested information, but contained additional non-responsive information. Commissioner Scheer wrote, compiled. Commissioner Walker wrote, meets requirements, no subcontractors. And Commissioner Reed wrote, not using contractors helps. Any discussion to be had on this one? Okay,
I stand by it.
okay. The next section, which is 300 points, was worth a total of 300 points, was the proposal should set forth a work plan including an explanation of the audit methodology to be followed and to perform the services required in this request for proposals. In developing the work plan, reference should be made to such sources of information as PSTA's budget, and then it continues. This one had a total value of 300 points.
325.
Excuse me, three, thank you, Commissioner McCann, 325. Commissioner Hazelton wrote, some reasons for concern as compared to Cherry, but price is important to balance all factors. And now we have price.
We're gonna get the other ones.
Okay.
The next one is Commissioner McCann. The audit approach section of the proposal is thorough yet digestible. It does not make explicit reference to such sources of information as PSTA's budget and related materials, organizational charts, manuals, etc. This section appears to exceed the number of allowable pages in the solicitation. The section on sampling was clear and easy to follow. The identification of anticipated problems. Section showed foresight, pragmatism and honesty. Commissioner Scheer wrote, great work plans. Commissioner Walker wrote, section does not convey an in-depth understanding of PSTA's process, organization, policies. So those are the comments on that one, and I think this is a significant section. So if you would allow, I'd like to drill down on this section a little bit, and I'll start with you, Commissioner Walker.
Yeah, no, I stand by this, and again, I felt that in terms of comparison of the two proposals, this was the weaker proposal. And I will also say that, and I, as I was reading through it compared to Cherry Becker, it just seemed to me the level of effort that went into this was far less. And it really appeared to me, especially in this section, but it appeared to me that they basically just copied and pasted from another proposal. I just did not get a conveyance that they were specifically proposing to PSTA.
I appreciate that. Excuse me. The next lowest score is Commissioner McCann. I'll call up your comment. And if you could elaborate a little bit on it, it would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, there were a couple of specific requirements in the evaluation criteria that really they just had to regurgitate back, and I felt like didn't do it, referring to the sources of information like our org charts, our manuals, programs. I didn't see reference to those things in this proposal. Let's see, what else did I put? Sampling was clear, easy to follow. Yeah, I mean, overall, I was confident with the audit approach, though. There is some cut and paste going on here, I think. There's also probably some cut and paste with auditing an agency like ours.
Okay. Commissioner Hazelton, your comment, would you like to elaborate on that? It seems pretty straightforward. It says, I can't remember how to, make it bigger, but that's okay. Your comment says, some reasons up for concern as compared to Cherry Becker, but price is important to balance all factors. I don't know if you wanna elaborate on that comment or not.
Well, price is important. So, now that we know the price, you know, it is important. But I have to say, I was uncomfortable with this proposal. There were a couple of, you know, and I really agree with Rob about just the, bringing into the discussion, the fact that it seemed put together at the last minute in order to get it submitted. It just felt that way in reading it. But also I didn't like the AI. Considering, I didn't like that. That he felt that was important to bring that into the discussion. And that there was so much about backgrounds and any kind of education and so on and so forth of the various principles, and yet they wanted to rely a lot on AI. We don't know who those people are. We don't know who Mr. AI is. So anyway, so I stand by what.
Okay. Commissioner Shearer?
Now, this is my scoring of the
Yes, sir.
LG, right?
Yes,
Audit approach.
And this is the one for the, okay, well, I kind of gauged it off the other one.
Yes, sir.
And the current auditors seem to say that we're gonna spend as little time here as possible. And the work plan from the other ones where they wanted to, they seemed to me like their plan was to get more involved. So I wanted them to be more involved and do less remote and actually come over here and say hello and, you know, maybe take a look at the place instead of trying to do it all remotely. That was and there wasn't much of a difference in my scoring, I don't believe, so, but that was it for me.
Okay.
Wanted some more on-site auditing. I don't know why, I just think things should be,
There's value.
yeah, there's value in showing up.
And Commissioner Reed, your comment, pretty definitive, clearly defined work
Again, it
plan.
gets back to my overall approach that I took what I call a 30,000-foot view, just kind of looking at the whole big picture, not drilling down into, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, they're both very well qualified firms. It's new to it, they didn't make it this far without being.
Yes, sir.
And again, to reiterate, I'll put it in a different way, there's no way in hell anybody's worth $200,000 more than the next one. So, I'm satisfied with the price on that one and
If we don't mind, I'd like to take a pause until Commissioner Walker gets back, if that's okay?
While we're doing that, there's something that's been sticking in my head, that it seems like with an audit, there might actually be value in changing the current vendor because they might get comfortable, having a new set of eyes on things could be a positive. Now, I didn't build anything like that into my score because that wasn't provided in the evaluation criteria. But to me, I don't do audits, but that seems like it might be nice to switch it up a little bit instead of having the same auditor each time.
A fresh set of eyes every once in a while is a good thing, I think.
Well, I'm not an auditing expert, but I have two auditing experts in the room with us, and that's Debbie and Julie. I don't know if you wanna comment off of what Commissioner McCann said?
I would say in my career, which has been lengthy, there's only been one time where I've kept the same audit firm two cycles. And I switched out all the partners. So it was a fresh set of eyes in that regard.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it works to have a fresh set of eyes, it does.
Can I ask a question related to that? Who's the current incumbent? Is it?
Cherry Becker.
It's Cherry Becker.
Okay, alright, that's what I thought.
So we had discussion on the last item. Commissioner Walker, we took a pause while you stepped out so you didn't miss anything. And at this time, I'd like to ask does anyone wish to adjust their score up or down?
Speaking for me.
Okay,
Does that 620, does mine reflect the additional 50 points?
in your overall score, yes, sir, it will. But
Okay.
not in that section right there.
No, I don't wish to change.
I'm sorry, did someone, even though I wasn't part of it, did someone say they exceeded the pages on this section?
I think Commissioner McCann said that, and in full disclosure, Commissioner Walker, he called me about that and asked, hey Al, and I don't know if it was this particular section or another section, but he did say that one of the firms, and I can't remember which one, did exceed the page limits. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Walker, what I told Commissioner Walker was, if he feels that if he feels the need to deduct, to go ahead and deduct, or either just score based on the evaluation criteria that was outlined. And I believe that's the same position that Commissioner McCann took as well. So some did, some may have. We received 2, and we're not so stringent where if it was 10 and you submitted 12 or a number, that we would throw somebody out for being non-responsive or something like that.
Could that be grounds for appeal by the loser to say that they violated the terms of, usually, in these kind of RFPs that I've been involved with, I'm sorry, I'm talking, I had oral surgery, so I'm a little. They usually would structure or stop reading at the page limit and don't evaluate anything written afterwards after that they included after the page limit. I just don't know if that creates, an issue of, like I said, grounds for if they wanted to appeal it.
So I've been doing this for a couple of decades, haven't run into that, not saying that it could not happen. But Commissioner Walker asked me that, he asked me that, and my fear that I told him was that the pages that we discard might be something that the firm might think was really relevant. So I didn't wanna arbitrarily say, take the 2 pages out or stop reading. But that is something that we can look into and put emphasis on it in future RFPs that go out.
Yeah, can I make a comment on that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so in my experience, typically, the way that the requirement is written is that it specifically says that the offer shall stay within page count. Any additional pages will be grounds for tossing the proposal out or not evaluating or pulling the pages out that are over the count. And in this particular case, and this is something I would think looking forward to future RFPs, but I really do think you need a clause in there to reflect that. But in this particular case, there is no such clause. So basically then, what I ended up doing is to make sure that there was an apples to apples comparison. Essentially taking a look at what the response was from the Clifton Larson proposal and comparing that to Cherry Beckert. And despite the fact that Cherry Beckert was over page count on that final section, I do not feel that those extra pages or content enhanced their presentation of their qualifications in that particular area.
Yes, sir.
And the other thing is that when you look at the Clifton Larson proposal, which was in page count on that section, their response compared to Cherry Beckert's was just not even a comparison.
Yes.
So that's how I slept last night.
I could clarify one thing, I thought the way that the solicitation said 5 maximum pages was, one, it would normally be phrased 5 pages maximum, right? And so there could have been some confusion there, but my read was also that both proposals were over that page limit, so there might not be that problem of an appeal. But I definitely get your point about.
There was a supplement that was issued based on a question that got
Okay,
asked.
I missed
And it
that.
increased from 5 pages to 10 pages.
Okay, I missed
So
that.
Addendum.
Good. Thanks for clarifying that.
So commissioners, as I said before, would anyone like to adjust any of their scores from at this point in time, or are we okay with the scores that you've entered?
I think we're fine.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Commissioner Walker, you good?
Is this the pricing?
Yes, that's the final, and once again,
Okay.
This is the final score.
Clifton Larson Allen pricing was $319,250. Cherry Becker pricing is $511,105.
So did you
So
say you can
a difference-
negotiate?
A difference of $191,855. That's the delta or the difference between. I'm sorry, Commissioner
I'm
Hazelton.
sorry. But you said earlier you could negotiate?
I said these are the prices without any negotiations, so the short answer to your question is yes, ma'am, I could enter into
So can we do
negotiations.
that?
Say again?
Can we negotiate?
Well, if that's the will of the finance committee. Right now, there's 2 steps, you have 2 options. You can ask for presentations from one or both the firms at the next finance committee meeting. And after the presentations, make a recommendation to what we take to the board, for award. Or based off of what we see, or you can have whoever the highest ranked firm is come in and address any concerns or anything like that you may have at the next finance committee. Or you can make a recommendation for award that we take to the May finance committee. So those are your options, I'll say it again. Once is ask for presentations at the next finance committee from both offerors, and then we'll reevaluate your scores at that point. Or ask for Clifton Larson Allen to come in and present to the finance committee on any things that you might have concern with. That's option 2. And the last option is make a recommendation to take one or two, both of these, take one of these firms to the May board. In answer to Commissioner Hazelton's question, yes, I could enter into negotiations with whichever firm we want to recommend that goes to the board, or both.
I see a show of hands, who's ready to make a recommendation? Is anybody on the committee ready to make a recommendation? Rob?
Yeah, I think I am. I'm ready.
I'm ready too.
I'm ready.
I mean, let's move it forward.
I could be.
Yeah.
So, as the finance committee chair and the evaluation committee members, it seems like you're ready to move
We're
forward,
ready to move forward with a recommendation.
ready to move forward with a recommendation, and
Like a
sir,
motion, Chair?
Yeah, I would like a motion.
I would, like to make a motion.
well, hang on one
Do a
second.
motion.
There is no action item for this,
You
so.
can do it by consensus, but it's,
Okay.
No, but they could take a motion.
well, you'll have to call for public comment. It's just that the public hasn't been able to see this as an action item on the agenda, but
Can I make a recommendation?
I was just
have
gonna
to
make
at
a
least
motion
call
that
for
we make a
public comment.
recommendation.
Yeah, okay.
To make a motion that we make a recommendation to approve the
Clifton Larson.
Larson proposal as presented.
Second?
This is real technical, but I think the point is, we can't even do that without public comment, I think,
yes,
if I'm
you could, as long as you call for public comment, to at least give whoever's here a chance to
Okay.
comment.
Okay.
Okay,
But you have to take public comment on action items.
So I have a motion, but I don't have a second.
well, the only thing is, I'm not sure the chair's allowed to make seconds or motions.
That's
Yeah, you
true
can.
That's not why that's why
Oh, okay.
that's why I haven't made one.
That's my bad ear.
It's all good.
If we call for public comment, then I'd be comfortable seconding that
Well,
motion.
we're gonna do that right now.
Okay, Then I second.
Okay. Now can I have public comment on the motion that's before us? Anybody from the public wish to speak? Hearing none, we close public comment.
Thank you.
So we finished, we done there?
So to make sure that I understand correctly, the recommendation that you're making for me is that we're going to be moving forward with Clifton Larson Allen? Is that correct?
That's the recommendation that we're making.
Let me ask a question here because are we doing this by consensus?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not a consensus. I don't agree with this and
Consensus has to be majority or unanimous?
It could be a majority.
Well,
I mean, it's just a
specifically,
recommendation, so.
Mr. Chair, Al's evaluation process is by consensus on whether, and then typically it's a consensus whether to bring them both back for interviews or just move forward with the top scorer there, Clifton Larson Allen, which seems like
We're trying to-
that's where you're not, because then there has to be a vote, a straight up vote by the finance committee to recommend it to the board.
Right.
Which you've made a motion in a second and gotten public comment on that. You could vote no.
can I offer a alternative then? I would say we bring them back for an interview.
Clifton?
Well, I think both of them.
We've already got a motion on the floor to move forward with the consensus.
Okay.
So we'll stick with that. Do we need to show of hands who's in support of the consensus?
That would help me.
All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries.
Carries. Okay, good.
Thank you all for your input, it's been great discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Great.
I'm sure there'll be more to finance committee hearing, how they call it, hearing.
Once again, Mr. Chair, Finance Committee members, thank you for your time. I know this isn't something that you do on a routine basis.
Thank
And
God.
staff and I are really appreciative.
Note to self, never serve.
Oh.
Don't worry, you won't have to do this for 5 years.
Okay, Al, thank you for it.
Well, I'm just gonna say, this has been one of the harder ones I've ever been participated in, so.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Moving on, Julie Lupus, our Director of Accounting, walk us through the financial
Just-
report.
Mr. Chair, in the interest of the planning committee is ready to go.
Oh.
If there's any questions, we can answer those, they're just reports in your packet.
Yeah, any questions on the report, let's move this forward, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
You okay with that,
Okay,
Debbie?
everybody good? Any other business to bring before the committee? Okay, hearing none? Oh, sorry.
No, I just quickly, if we have a minute, I know that we have another finance committee meeting coming before the first official budget meeting is gonna be going before the board.
Yes.
And that several of us participated in the budget meeting that we had.
Yeah.
But we really didn't talk about the budget. I was wondering if at our next meeting, we might be able to, at the chair's discretion, come in with some, maybe make some recommendations on our actual budget. I've been looking at our budget.
Okay.
We've already have a proposed budget for 2026 from staff. I thought it'd be nice if the finance committee might start reviewing that now, and maybe we should have a little time at the next meeting to review.
Yeah, can we put that on the agenda for the next finance committee meeting?
Yes.
Actually look at the numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not actually a proposed budget by the staff, is FYI.
Oh, this is the forecast. on
Yeah,
here.
that's just the forecast,
Okay.
we constantly update that, Commissioner.
Well, I just thought it'd be great to, as
Yeah,
a finance committee, maybe we can make
Yeah, we
recommendations to
maybe
the
set
whole
aside
board.
5 minutes to go over that.
Yeah, that'd be
Sure,
great.
keep it
I
on
appreciate
track.
it.
So, yeah, thank you. Okay, any other business? Thank you all. We are adjourned. Our next meeting is May 14th at 9 o'clock. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.